Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Emma, and I will be your host in room 1 for the remainder of the day. Welcome to the Center for Changemaking and Social Innovation session. In a moment, we're going to bring in Nicole, who is the manager of the center. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone that as a part of our open house event, we are waiving the $95 OCAS application fee. To apply for free, simply complete your application today and make sure a Georgian program is one of your programs of choice on your application. When you get to the payment page, don't pay, save your work, and sign up. OCAS will pay your $95 fee on the next business day, and you will be sent a confirmation email. During the presentation, feel free to put your questions into the chat box at any time, and we'll get through as many as we can at the end. So Nicole, I'll hand it over to you.
Nicole, I believe you're still muted.
Thanks. How many times have you had to say that this morning, Josiah? Welcome everybody to Open House. My name is Nicole Norris. I am the manager of the Center for Changemaking and Social Innovation. So I'm going to show you a little bit of a presentation today. Hopefully you all are enjoying yourself and getting some information that you need about Georgian and how incredibly awesome we are here to serve you. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen here. Fantastic. Can everybody see me?
Yes.
All right. Okay, cool. So first of all, I'd like to introduce you to the Center for Changemaking and Social Innovation. And you asked, Nicole, that's a very long title. What on earth does it mean? Well, that's an excellent question. We're going to answer that in our presentation today. But first of all, I'd like to introduce you to innovation at Georgian. So first of all, the Center for Changemaking and Social Innovation is actually part of 3 innovation centers that we have at Georgian. And so as you can see here in this diagram, we actually, we sit a little bit outside the academic area, but we also sit inside of it. When you look at our 3 innovation centers, we have the Center for Changemaking and Social Innovation, the Henry Burnick Entrepreneurship Center, and Research and Innovation. And so when you see sort of how they align, they sort of align to different programs, but we also bleed into each other. So we work together in something called a collaboratory. And so the collaboratory is this idea that across the system, there's lots of opportunities for programs to work together. And so our job is to try to connect those programs together to work in the spirit of innovation. And we just happen to work in the spirit of social innovation and change making. And so just a little bit about the center. This is some of our goals. These are the goals that we focus on. So our job is to get you to know about change making. And then our goal is to get you to see yourself as a change maker. And that goes right across the spectrum from your faculty, your students, to the community partners that you'll work with or maybe place with. The other thing too is our goal is to amplify and increase and connect opportunities for change making. So once you learn about it and you see yourself as a change maker, our goal is to make sure that you have opportunities to actually practice it. And then the other kind of thing that is kind of neat about what we do at the center is our job is to show you that we are actually the one and only college changemaker campus. And what does that mean? Well, in 2017, an organization called Ashoka U goes around and its mandate is to look at institutions that are doing incredible things in the space of social innovation, systems work, and change making. And so it's this idea that you have to go through this 2-year audit process. And what they did is they looked at us and said, from our senior leadership all the way down to potentially our facilities, what is Georgian doing around sort of, allowing students, faculty, and staff to build the positive change they'd like to see? And so this was a 2-year designation process. We earned it. We now join over 40 institutions globally that have this designation. So as you can see here, we're the only college on the list. There's some more in queue, but right now we are the only college on the list. We join institutions from around the world, and as you can see, in Canada as well. And Canada is really starting to lead this space. So we're really proud of this designation. And as you come into Georgian, we're going to show you how proud you can be of that designation as well, too. So back to that question. What on earth is change making and what is a change maker? Well, this is the official definition of a change maker, one who desires change in the world, and by gathering knowledge and resources, makes that change happen. So there's a couple interesting things in here. Is this idea that first you see the change, so you think to yourself, man, someone should do something about that. And then this idea that you can do something about it. It doesn't have to be big, Doesn't have to be small. It can be whatever you like it to be. But this idea that at Georgian, we're here to give you the knowledge and resources to show you how to do it. And for instance, you saw Drew earlier today, he opened up the show. Well, here he is identifying as a change maker himself. So we've got this opportunity when you first come to Georgian and you seek us out. The first thing we're going to ask you is, what kind of change maker do you want to be? And this is actually from Open House last year, where we had character artists come and sort of ask you this question. And you can see Drew standing behind this wall of kind of these weird names and titles. Anyways, so the idea is Drew picked an activist. So this is how he sees himself, and we're ready to help him be that way. And obviously he stood up and, you know, claimed that president of GCSI Barrie. So that's amazing. And so when we think about change making, here's 10 pathways. And so this little bear here, I forgot to introduce them earlier. This is Charlie, the change maker bear. And so at Georgian, we are known as the Grizzlies and the Growlers. But what you didn't know is that Growler actually has a cousin named Charlie. And Charlie went off a long, long time ago into a galaxy far, far away and decided, you know, what can I do? How can I use my talents in the world? How can I actually affect change? And so Charlie came back when we got the designation and said, you know what, it's time to get real, people. And here's the 10 pathways. No matter what program that you're at Georgian, here are sort of the 10 pathways that you could potentially resonate with. So one of the first things we do is we ask students when they come to us and we say, hey, take a look at these 10 pathways. Could you see yourself in one of these pathways? And this idea that, do you see yourself as a volunteer, an activist, and, you know, anywhere from a graphic designer all the way to aviation, all the way to mechanical engineering, you can use your talents and imbue social purpose in them. And so this is sort of our way that we can wayfind and help you. So let me show you some incredible students that have worked with us in the Center for Changemaking. And you can see sort of the associated pathways. So these were social, I believe they were child and youth care or social service worker students. And they created something called Bear in a Bag. And this was what this was, is looking at homelessness in youth, or youth that are couch surfing. And this idea that they still have to go to school, but, you know, is there a way that we can reduce the stigma by making them have a backpack that they can carry a lot of the tools and resources that they need, but it's not stigmatized. So if they are in a situation where they need support, they actually have a backpack that looks very similar and you would never know, so that they themselves can sort of get the help that they need, but also not be identified as well by sort of the accessories that they carry. The other one here, we had an amazing opportunity with some international students. This is Kamal and Gundeep. They actually worked with the Sharing Place Food Bank, and they identified that there's a lot of uncommon food resources in our area. And so is there a way that we could match uncommon food resources? So this idea that maybe there's an apple tree in somebody's yard. Is there a way that if somebody had food and somebody needed food, they could actually share it through an app? And so they actually sort of conceptualized this idea that it was an ability that you could actually eliminate food waste, but also ensure that people who needed food in the moment could actually get it as well. And finally, we had some social service worker students as well. They looked at passive greenhouses. So they worked with the YWCA. They looked at sort of single moms who were sort of looking after kids. They needed sort of healthy food, but at the same time too, was there an opportunity where they could reskill? And so this idea, the passive greenhouse, a passive greenhouse, if you don't know, has a very, very small carbon footprint. And it's the idea it can be assembled, you can sell it, and you can also put it in community centers, schools, and they're tiny and they're manageable. And so this idea was a reskilling program to build these passive greenhouses to sort of support single moms who needed an opportunity to work, but also at the same time contributing to the community as a social enterprise. So that was sort of another pathway and an example. So these are all things that you can get a part of with Georgian and the tools and resources to make these happen. Most of these students didn't think they could do this when they started, but in the end, they have gone on to graduate and do incredible things. So how can I get involved with change making at Georgian? That's another excellent question we get all the time. Well, we've got a lot of programs available, and we're not just for students, we're actually for your students, faculty, staff, and our industry and community partners. And so why do we cover this full gamut? Well, we recognize that if we're going to start giving you, the student, opportunities to sort of flex your social purpose and change-making skills, we also want to make sure that you've got faculty and staff and industry partners that can align and support you with some of those things. And so one of the first things we do when you join us at the center, we get you to sign up and create your Changemaker profile. profile. And what this does is it allows you to start to earn something we call innovation capital. And this innovation capital is really just sort of a way to measure your change-making footprint while you're at Georgian, and you can actually take this with you when you graduate as well. It's also an opportunity to find like-minded change makers across different programs. Remember, I said the innovation centers span the entire programmatic spectrum at Georgian. And so we're always looking for ways that if you're a social service worker student and you want to work with a graphic designer, or a graphic designer wants to work with an eng tech student, that there's these abilities that we can actually connect you as a community of like-minded change makers. The other thing you can do when you're at Georgian is you can join this thing called Charlie & Co. And this is something that we started this year. We're partnered with your Georgian GCSA, which stands for the Georgian College Students Association. And it's focused on looking at the UN Sustainable Development Goals. These are the 17 goals that the United Nations communities around the world have agreed that by 2030, these are some of the goals that we need to achieve prosperity, peace, and well-being. And so what we've done is we've created something that at every single campus with your GCSA, if you have an idea, you can involve with Charlie & Co. It's about activism, it's about volunteerism, it's about contributing to the community and learning how to have conversations around tough issues. Finally, if you're in co-op and you want to explore interesting placements, we started an innovation co-op, and this is supported again by our 3 innovation centers. It focuses predominantly on a work term where we show students how to build an innovator's toolkit, and that is to teach them things like design thinking, empathy, how do we collaborate online, virtual collaboration, and you can do this as a co-op where you're partnered with a community partner. And you essentially act like a little micro R&D department for that partner. And you get to work with, again, many disciplines. So you're not just sort of working with yours, you're learning how to work cross-discipline. And these are all skills that employers are looking for in the future. And finally, as we move forward, we're also starting to move into technology. As you can see here, we're starting to look at how we can use immersive technology to teach things like empathy, collaboration. We're working deeply with other areas within Georgian College to sort of build that out and develop those skills. So it's not just, so we're sort of looking at the total gamut and what the future is going to be. So if you're excited about what you're hearing, you actually have a fact. You can try it out if you want to sort of test it out. Next week, starting November 16th to 20th, we're hosting something called Changemaker and Residency Week. And if you are interested in learning about what Georgian College has to offer in the space of social innovation, entrepreneurship, career development, I highly recommend you check that out. We can put the link in the chat for you, and you can actually come for free. There's something there for everybody, and you can get a little taste of what it's like to be at Georgian College next week. It runs for next week, and lots of opportunities for you. And so that's it. That is us at the Center for Changemaking and Social Innovation. And I guess I'll throw it back to Emma if there's any questions in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nicole. That was great. Thanks for that overview. We definitely have some questions here, so let's jump right into it. So our first question is, I'd like to get started. What's the best first step?
What's the best first step? Well, you can go to www.changemakergc.com. And you
GC.com. I'm putting it in the chat right now.
Amazing. And then you can sign up and get your Changemaker profile. And what that does is it puts you in our database, and you start to get emails from us about all the incredible things that you can participate in. The second thing you can do is you can go, and I think, Emma, you posted it in the chat, is you can sign up for Changemaker and Residency Week. I think Emma's going to post that in the chat for you as well. Awesome. So you can go there to the Georgian website, and you can check out, I think there's 54 events that are online, workshops, all kinds of stuff, panel discussions, and you can get a real good landscape of what's going on at Georgian with innovation.
Cool. That sounds awesome. So those 2 links are in the chat if folks want to learn more. The next question I have here is, what would be the benefit of getting involved? So I'm guessing someone's looking at that from like academically, or perhaps something to put on their resume. So do you have any benefits that you could probably share?
Oh, absolutely. I love questions like that. Thank you for asking that. So yeah, so first of all, it's about 21st century skill set, sort of giving you a competitive advantage of what employers are looking for. So by involving yourself with our programming and, us working with your faculty, staff, and community partners, a couple things you're going to work on. One, we focus on empathy. So this idea is, how does empathy get applied in the workplace? So this is a muscle sometimes that we don't always flex. And If you look at sort of what are the top employability skills that employers are looking for, particularly Google did a big survey, empathy is number one. The other thing too is collaboration and communication. As you know now, we are in an interesting world where everything is remote and online. And a lot of our programming teaches you how to collaborate online, how to communicate online, how to use empathy in those communications. The third one is we teach you innovation skills. So how do we problem solve? How do we look at the world? How do we work together? What are some of the methods and tools that we can use? And the other thing too is we teach you this idea of visual thinking. So a lot of times when we're working with somebody on innovation and we can't understand it, the best way to do it is show, not tell. Okay. And that's sort of what you do. So when you apply and you put it on your resume, you're going to be able to say, I worked with the Center for Changemaking and Social Innovation. I was able to acquire design thinking skills, team collaboration, and the ability to communicate and, sort of move ideas forward. Hope that helps.
That's great. That's awesome. Okay, our next question. Oh, this is a good one. So this one says, I will be going to the Owen Sound campus. Can I be part of the change-making team?
Oh my God, yes. Owen Sound, rocking it. That's amazing. So the best way to do that is through Charlie & Co. So Charlie & Co. was our student sort of affinity group. And what I mean by affinity group, it's this idea that you can join the Owen Sound chapter. You're going to need to reach out to your GCSA representative and ask about that. It's something we've just launched this year, so it's pretty nascent. But yeah, absolutely. Make sure you get your Changemaker profile set up so you know what's going on. And then hang out, go knock on your door of your GCSA, so it's your Georgian College Student Association. Sorry. Go knock on their door and say, I want to join Charlie & Co. and they'll hook you up with us as well.
Perfect. That's great. That's great to know for all of our folks who are tuning in and are interested in taking a program at one of our campus communities other than Barrie. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see. Another question here. So it says you gave some examples of student projects. So that was the bag and a bear, or bear in a bag.
Bear in a bag.
Bag. Does every program at Georgian have an element of change making?
Potentially. So that's an interesting question that you ask. So Georgian, our programs do go across the system. We do have a faculty community of practice that is working to embed. But if you would like to get involved, and if you say your program doesn't necessarily have a project that is related to social purpose and change making, that's okay. You reach out to us at the center and we can support you with some resources so that you can actually use them in any project work you have. The other thing that we have coming up is something called Change the Now. So www.changethennow.com, and I'm really hoping the site is up because we're just flipping it over to the new one last night. But Change the Now was an opportunity for you to do project work if you chose, or just not to do project work in a co-curricular way to tackle a tough social problem. So this year in Change the Now, it's going to launch in January, the week of the winter semester. We'll have a big launch for it. You can find out information about it and you can sign up. Even if you're not at Georgian, you can sign up and you'll get all the tools and resources to build out a project related to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Hope that helps.
That's awesome. Thanks for that, Nicole. Okay, it looks like those are all of the questions that we had so far. So I want to thank you so much, Nicole, for joining us today and walking us through the Center of Changemaking and Social Innovation. That was an awesome overview.